Hi, everybody. Thank you guys for coming on. My team was messaging me right before, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, the keynote speaker was amazing." So hopefully I can be as cool as him. But apparently it was very, very good. I didn't get to hear it because I was in here. But those of you here, we're going to talk about expanding your reach in a streaming first world. So I was already introduced. So we're going to skip over that. Going through the agenda, we're going to just look at the data right now. So I'm sure in all of our minds, we can just assume that streaming is on the rise, but I really want to just give you some data and some interesting stats to back that up. Also talk about what connected TV is specifically. As marketers, as you know, we love to have a bunch of terminology for the same thing, and it can get a little bit confusing. So I want to make sure that we're just all on the same page as it relates to connected TV. And then really where I think you guys are going to have the most actionable items and insights is the best ways to use the technology. So I know you guys have been on your computers probably for a little bit today. If you zone in or out, this is the time to zone back in because there's some really helpful information there. And then finally, just how to expand video from connected TV and the programmatic space. So let's jump into the data. So cord cutting continues to accelerate. And I think some interesting things that I have heard throughout the last few months is, one, the story of COVID is not before COVID and after COVID, it's before COVID and faster. So what that means is everything has just accelerated since COVID took place to what maybe would have already happened. For instance, Google had mentioned or had stated that their projections for streaming content video, what they were projecting us to be at in 2022, we're already there now, and we're continuing to grow and crush those numbers. So it's really interesting, the growth. And the reason why it's really important to point that out, us as marketers know the little rule of thumb here is you want to go where the people are, right? That's how we are going to get our messages seen. That's how you're going to be effective. And there are clearly a lot of people moving to this space. Another really interesting piece is that tipping point, right? Where those shifts are really kind of happening seamlessly at the same time. One, cable subscriptions fell more than 80 million in 2020. And on the supply side, it's doubled over the last year. So you can see that that it's already surpassing. The cable users are going down, and this streaming has gone up. From the next piece, just knowing that yes, people are still on linear, they're still utilizing, cable, if you will. But think about the people who are cord cutters, right? Who had cable or satellite or whatever it was, completely turned that off and are now going just to all the streaming services, whether that be Sling or Hulu, what have you. Or even think about the cord nevers. I know a lot of people that I work with, in their 20s, early 30s, they just have never even had cable. It's too expensive, or they just aren't, wanting to even go that route. And so what's really, really interesting when we think about connected TV is that 77% of the people on connected TV, you cannot reach on traditional linear television. And so if that's a part of your current buy, that's cool, that's great. But think about you're missing a pretty large audience, specifically within that 18 to 34 age group. Another thing, that net new households that have grown since January to May of this year, net new households, 49% that are streaming content, which is just insane to me. It's just a really, really large number. So I've obviously kind of drilled that down, right? The importance here and the growth that we've seen. Again, I think it's something we've all kind of known, but just to see those numbers and how explosive it is just incredible. So let's talk a little bit more about what connected TV is. So I want to talk about connected TV from the standpoint of a digital buy. So if you look at cable television or other TV providers, again, there's value, there's place. So there's nothing, I just want to describe the difference. They are reaching their users, right, through their own streaming services or whatever it is, you have to have a subscription or be a part of that world. Whereas with connected TV, this is streaming content on your own. Maybe you're buying a subscription through Hulu or whatever it is. But either way, connected TV is allowing you to have TV's impact, right, which is considered the biggest screen in the house, but able to utilize digital's precision. So the really beautiful thing about digital when it came out, and really its targeting and all of that was on the forefront, is you're really able to pinpoint specific audiences and segments of people that you want to hit. And so allowing you to have that digital precision with TV's impact is just huge. Now, connected TV, although it can be on a TV screen, it can be streamed through multiple ways, like a Amazon Fire Stick, smart television, or consoles like a Wii, PlayStation, Xbox, all of those. As long as you have an internet-connected device, you can stream this type of content. So it's TV-like content. Additionally, you can stream these things on your iPad, on your phone, on your desktop, your laptop, whatever it may be. This content can also be streamed on other devices. And it's really important to understand that you can reach these people, no matter what device that they're streaming on, wherever they are and however they're choosing to do it. And I think that's a really important piece here that we like to point out is about the audience. It is really key that you're going after the people that you want to get in front of. So if you think back in the day of traditional TV buying, we're going to purchase HGTV because we're assuming it's, females of a certain age group and income that are typically watching this channeling. Instead of us making assumptions, we can say, I want to go after females of this age group who are homeowners, and we can serve those people ads on TV, no matter what type of content they're streaming, whether it's HGTV, ESPN, that age group could have many interests. And instead of us guessing and hoping we're getting it right, we can just hit that audience. And so that's a really important piece. The other thing that I want to just discuss too is the impact that you're able to reach a lot of really premium content with streaming. So, you don't have to just go through these specific channels or, TV providers. You can reach Fox, you can reach ESPN, you can reach A&E, right? These premium content providers are available to you from a streaming and programmatic standpoint. And so it's really, really key there. And again, like I said, the audience is the most important piece. So that's another thing I just want to point out. A lot of times we talk to people that say, well, I want to be around live sports specifically, or I want to make sure I'm connected to this type of content. And I understand, because it's just the way that we're wired and we're used to buying something that has the word TV in it. But that's not necessarily what it's about. Again, you want to focus on the person you want to go after, and let's be really smart and strategic about how we're going to reach them. So I'm going to talk to you about how to do that. So please take notes now. If you now's the time to chime in. So the first piece here is sequential messaging. So this is something that we're able to do that's really, really cool. And I'll kind of just talk through this. So as we know from a sales standpoint, storytelling is huge, right? You want to be able to tell your story, articulate who you are, why people should be working with you in a really smart way. And video is such an awesome way to do that because it elicits emotion. And when you're able to elicit emotion from somebody, you're able to have a bigger impact and kind of resonate with them more. So from a sequential standpoint, let's say we serve an ad and you're reaching all of your prospects, right? Everybody that you want to reach in this target age group, you're reaching with a message. And let's say 50% of that age group or demographic that you're going after watches the video 100%. The next piece, the people who watched 100% of that video but didn't convert on your website. So let's say that they saw the ad, went to your website, checked you out, but didn't do anything meaningful, right? So whether that's a form fill or go to a very important specific page of your website or buy something, right? A very easy conversion to track. If they haven't converted, you're able to then serve them a second message, whether that's kind of piggybacking off of the first message. So saying, hey, remember me, remember this, and give them even more reasons why they should buy from you. Or maybe it's just a different spin on the first message. So maybe that would resonate a little bit more on, again, why they should buy. So again, this can keep happening, to message 3 and 4. And those, when you get to the level 4, people who still haven't converted, you can get them into a really, really smart retargeting strategy because they've clearly come to your site, have not converted for some reason. And so we want to make sure that we're showing them retargeting, but doing it through household extension, which basically means we're not going to just serve them ads on connected TV, through the TV streaming services. Instead, we're going to leverage all of the programmatic ads that are out there and serve them really cool retargeting ads to try to get that conversion you're looking for. So the next piece is, and this is kind of in line, right, with sequential messaging. So I want to talk about ad frequency. So this is another thing that I think is really cool that digital connected TV really brings to the table, is being able to have a little bit of control over what specific person is seeing that ad and how many times. So some interesting stats that we have here. If somebody saw an ad one time, they are 5.7% more likely to make a purchase than someone who never saw an ad from you. And that kind of makes sense, right? If they never saw your ad, maybe they don't even know you exist or know about you. But let's say they see your ad 2 to 5 times. At that case, they're even more likely, 4.4% more likely to purchase than those who even just saw your ad one time. And then when you get to the 6 to 10x time, you're actually starting to diminish your return, right? People are less likely because they're kind of like, all right, I didn't purchase, really not into you. Please stop showing me an ad. So I think that's a really interesting thing. And it's something that we have complete control over, right? So we can take this information and we can say, all right, let's make sure that I'm only serving this household or this specific user ID ads only 5 times within a 28-day time frame. So we're not oversaturating those individual audience segments. Instead, we're really having that strong balance. And some of the ways that you can do that is from recency and frequency bidding. So I'm going to talk about frequency bid optimization as it relates to retargeting. So anybody who's currently running any sort of campaign here probably knows retargeting is one of the best strategies as far as driving actual conversions on your website. So what we know to be true about retargeting, as we dig in a little bit deeper, the first retargeting ad has way more value and will drive more conversions than the second, the fourth, the fifth, and so on. And so what we found with that is why would we just have a blanket bid across the board for every retargeting ad impression that we're serving? So if you look down here, the first ad, like I said, has a better, might have a better performance rate, and we're willing to spend, right? We're willing to say, yes, I will spend $16 or so to serve that first retargeting ad. But when it comes down to the second, not so much. I'm going to lower that bid by $2 and so on and so on. And so that way, when you get down to like the 7th bid, you're still not paying top dollar when we know that it's not going to produce the same. And then you can also put a cap at that level too and just say, okay, after the 7th retargeting ad to that one specific person, I'd like to stop. So those are some really interesting bid strategies that you can be using. Also, there's the recency. So we also know that if somebody came to your ad or to your website, today versus somebody who came to your website 30 days ago, the person who came today, way more valuable, way more likely to convert than those who came to you 30 days ago. So it's trying to understand what those visitors are worth and also understanding your life cycle, right, of the buying journey and how long people have to look before they make that purchase. But regardless, it's understanding, okay, how much am I willing to bid for somebody who was most recently at my site versus somebody who hasn't been to my site in 60 days, and adjusting your bids accordingly. So these are some really interesting things we can do. And again, apply it to connected TV. So when you're buying this platform that we know is so robust and has this great audience, we can be really smart and strategic with your dollars so we can spend your budget really effectively. Now, another piece that I think is really, really cool. So when we first started talking about connected TV about 4 years ago, a lot of this came within traditional TV buyers or agencies that are just used to buying TV, which totally is great. And a day parting came up to be a thing that, hey, we really want to buy ads during the the 5 o'clock hour, because we know that's when more people are watching TV. Streaming's a bit of a different world, right? Because streaming is on demand. It's whenever I want to watch it, right? Like, let's say after this event, or I'm just beat and want to like take a minute for myself and stream something for 30 minutes. That's at what, like 2 in the afternoon, which is just a really weird time for somebody to be streaming. So I think that, it's understanding what the audience is doing, and buying bids and buying traffic around that instead of making assumptions, right? So this graph up here at the top, the sales by day part, this is going to show you, so this is a graph that we had from our client that showed when sales were coming in by day and by time of day. So what we were able to disseminate is that on Mondays around 6 o'clock p.m. were when the most sales were coming into their website. And we were able to use that data to make bid modifications to our campaign. So we said, okay, let's not bid super high on a Saturday when we know not a lot of people are buying, right? We're probably wasting our dollar. We don't want to spend, $15 to serve a person an ad on Saturday when they're more likely to not even commit or convert until Monday. So you can see here, we would take this sales data and apply it to our bid strategy and make the adjustments accordingly. And so really make sure that we were spending the majority of our dollars and bidding on the right audiences during the times of days that they were more likely to convert. So that's a really cool strategy that we found to be really, again, just efficient with your dollars. Some other things to think about, I've talked about audience a lot, but knowing how to properly buy audiences is really key when it comes to connected TV and just programmatic in general. So first party targeting is gold. Okay, this is your data, your audience. So if you're someone who's already collecting an email list, or you have just any type of loyalty program, that's that first party data of people that are engaged with you, and you own that data. And you can reach out to those people, right? And you can put them in a bucket. Conversely, you can then create lookalike models off of them. So if you see, my favorite example of this is that we were helping a Subaru dealership in California, and they were, trying to find lookalike models. And what we found from a commonality standpoint, the people that were doing really well as far as like coming to their site and looking at the pages we were wanting them to look at, those same groups of people were also buying cat food online majority of the time. So there's just like some really weird dynamics you can find from a commonality standpoint. But lookalike modeling is basically saying, okay, like here's my core audience that converts a lot. Let me go find more like them. So if you have a Subaru, I'd love to know if you have a cat too. Third-party targeting, however, is using that programmatic third-party cookies, all this bad stuff we've been talking about lately. It's still there and available for us to utilize, and some people still opt in to be targeted. And so you can really do some cool things as far as using that third-party targeting to find new prospects, right? Because that first party are the people that you already have in your bucket. But let's say you want to go after new, or you're trying to grow a completely new segment. This is a really smart way to do it. And then finally, retargeting. Retargeting, again, I just cannot say enough about it. It's so, so important to be able to actually drive those conversions. And another piece of advice that I would say is really look at, all of this stuff up here is so, so great for prospecting. And I would, consider allocating about 70% of your overall budget from the prospecting standpoint. So you're constantly engaging new, constantly building your pipeline up, and then retargeting, have the rest, the 30% left of your budget to retargeting, and use some of those really smart strategies that I shared earlier. And that retargeting, that 30% of your budget, will go so much further. So I love this slide. Marketing shared this with me, and I thought it was really, really cool that you can get so granular. So this is just talking about the third-party data that's available. A lot of times, we've worked with chiropractors or just different people that want to go after somebody who uses pain medication, or even our CBD clients. They love this, right? So yes, we can find that. We can see who is using aspirin, Tylenol, whatever it is. But we can get even further and get down to the specific brands that people are using. So it doesn't just have to be pain relievers in general. We can get super, super strategic about what pain reliever they're using and how often they're buying. So I just think that's kind of an interesting piece to keep in mind of how granular we can actually get to find our audience. So from a retargeting standpoint, as I mentioned, we can retarget on connected TV, right? That's out there and available. But where we've really found some cool success is using retargeting across the board, across all the programmatic channels. So display, which is just your general banner ads, pre-roll video. So pre-roll is different than connected TV. It's if I'm on ESPN.com, like on their website, not streaming through an app, on their website, I want to look at a highlight reel of something and an ad shows before I see that highlight reel, that's a pre-roll video. It's like the dinosaur of digital video, but it still works. It's still really great, especially from a retargeting standpoint. Audio, so Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, right? All of those, so great. We know people are listening to music, especially during the holidays. And so this is a really great time, right, to retarget them through an audio standpoint. And then native advertising, if you're not familiar, it basically looks like content that falls within the site. So if you think about Facebook or Instagram, when there's an ad, the ad looks very similar to all the other posts that are kind of coming in. That is called native. But when you look at it from a website standpoint, if you went to a news site, it would look almost like any other news article. Instead, it's an ad that's trying to direct you to a specific advertiser's website. Really, really effective. A great way to educate people. Finally, looking at conversion data offline. So we're able to say, okay, if we're going to serve connected TV ads, great. What we're able to do is see how many of those people that we were serving ads to came to your store. So if you're a brick and mortar or you're trying to just drive in-store traffic, we can help align and show that these ads that you're serving actually made an impact to those people coming into your store, which is really cool. And that's really because of the aggregators of, the programmatic opportunities that are out there, really being able to partner with all of these mobile tracking opportunities, right? So we're able to kind of make that match, which is really cool. And so again, it's just giving you more power to see what your ads are doing and how impactful they actually are. And so the next piece is, I talked a lot, obviously, on connected TV, mostly because it's kind of that shiny new object. A lot of people are talking about it, and I think there's a lot of just different information going out and about. And so I wanted to make sure that you guys had a really good handle on what it was and things that you can actually do with it that are just really cool. But if we think about video from just a creative standpoint, video can go anywhere, right? Video specifically has also been super effective on social media channels as well as Google and YouTube. And I just want to share a couple of things that we've seen within these two channels that have been really successful. So from a social standpoint, Facebook and Instagram, they get 4 times more conversions when the ad is a video. So video just speaks to people. And when I say video, it doesn't have to be this like long drawn out 30-minute or 30-second thing. It can be 6 seconds. And that makes an impact. And actually, shorter is better at this point. People are kind of inundated with this stuff so much that they kind of like it if you can just get to the point, and they tend to engage a lot more with those like quick, short videos. So that's a tip. And then also something that I think is underutilized is Snapchat. Snapchat is such a cool platform. And what we found is that audiences, much like I described with linear TV and connected TV, audiences that are on Facebook aren't on, people that are on Snapchat aren't on Facebook and Instagram. So if you use Snap, you're able to go after a completely new audience, which is really, really cool. And they have some awesome audience insights. So if you start doing ads with them, they just have really cool data that can help influence and drive some other really smart decisions across your other campaigns. And then YouTube, I don't know if anyone listened to, there was a conversion webinar earlier today that I listened to, and the gentleman was speaking specifically about call to action ads. And those are smart, right? They just, yes, get a call to action in there. And YouTube kind of understands that value, and they, through their videos, their TrueView ads, they've created call to action. So there's little drop downs that says like, learn more, click here to book an appointment or whatever. So they're making it easier for people who are interested in that brand or that company to engage with them. So just another piece, again, just from the holistic standpoint, what's really great about utilizing video across all of these channels is that it's an integrated solution. You can see how one has influenced the other, and you can kind of watch these people go across the board and get to conversion, and it just helps you overall. And I think the piece where it drops off, obviously, is on that traditional TV, cable type of thing. Again, has value. I definitely know that. It's just you're able to kind of keep a lot more data and information within this little atmosphere, if you will. And so I just want to share a couple of case stories with you because I thought they were interesting. The first one, it was very tough for us. So this was a company that was wanting to drive app installs, but they wanted to do it within 1 month. Which is kind of crazy. And they also wanted to keep a very low effective cost per action. So we were, had our challenge before us. And some of the key strategies we used was driving prospecting of new customers only. So making sure that we were taking out and not going after anybody who wasn't new. We were utilizing all of those strategies like day parting, device type, and geographical influences to drive this. Being really, really smart with retargeting. And this one is the coolest. We retargeted connected TV viewers with mobile display ads within 90 minutes of them finishing that connected TV ad. So if you saw the ad on connected TV, you were guaranteed to be converted or retargeted within 90 minutes, which really helped drive a lot of conversions. And so what we found is that we were able to reduce the effective CPA within 7 days by 45%. And we were also able to attribute 1,500 installs from connected TV alone, which is really, really cool, especially since we had such a short campaign, which is not usually our go-to. And then the next one is a landscape developer. So they've been in the landscape business for 60 years, tried and true in the community. Definitely have done their fair share of traditional advertising. But they wanted to branch out. They wanted to try something new, get online, go after new audiences. And so they determined, hey, I'm going to try connected TV. So they wanted to tell their story. They had some really great creatives that they had put out there to appeal to this new audience, mostly towards female homeowners. After running these ads for 3 months, they saw a 20% increase in their overall business. And this was a business that, although they had been around for so long and they were doing great, they didn't necessarily see a ton of growth right away. And so this actually, sparked that right back up. We were able to decrease their cost per completed view by being really smart about that day parting bid modifications that I described earlier. So we were able to, over time, drive their acquisition costs down. And they were also getting 100,000 completed views per month. So again, this is net new audiences that they were going after and getting in front of. So from just a pure summary standpoint, because I feel like I am running out of time, reach new audiences, use all of those cool tactics that I talked about. If you have any questions on those, please feel free to reach out to my team. We're here. Would love to talk through anything that you guys want to talk through. And then make sure too that you're just getting that hyper granularity and going after those audiences specifically. So just again, if you guys want to chat, we're here, we're around. If you want to just talk sports and have a beer with us later, we'll do that too. But I thank you so much for your time, and I will pass it over to Kip.
This was great. And man, I miss getting together with people and talking sports and drinking beer.
No.
Let's get back to that soon. Right?
Yeah.
We would all head over to the bar after this presentation.
Yes. Yes.
This was great. Reminder, everybody, if you have questions, post them in the Q&A tab. It's easier for us to track them that way and get to them. And while we're doing that, we've got a few that we wanted to ask. And maybe they'll spur some thoughts for the rest of you to get some more interaction going in here. Curious with all the different kind of like the way we can use OTT and connected devices, and we know a lot about individual consumers, and people are doing things with DMPs and so many ways to connect all this stuff. How have you seen that influence creative, right? So all these technologies are now giving us great insights with data and connections and targeting and personas. Creative is that one element. How is that changing the game a little bit there too?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just helping us to make smarter decisions. And also, again, from that audience standpoint, breaking out audiences even deeper, right? So if we know that certain messages seem to be resonating with maybe a more female, younger audience, and then an ad that skews better for a male in their 30s, whatever it is, right? So we can kind of break that out and make sure that the messaging is aligning properly with those audiences to just drive more conversions. And then also, I would say the other thing that I've seen really smart from a creative standpoint is making sure the retargeting message is different based on the pages that people have viewed. So, it's not just the same retargeting message across the board. It's if they've abandoned their cart, the message is going to be different. If they viewed, a contact us page and left, message is different. So I would say being smart there. And then also, if you're trying to upsell or cross-sell your existing, just being really smart with having different engaging messaging to people who already know about you.
So is working in this industry cause you to be even more of a cord cutter, or were you already a cord cutter?
No, it's so funny. I was talking to my husband about these stats this morning, and he's like, so what you're telling me is now the time to negotiate our rates with our cable provider? And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess we need certain channels that he's into. So no, I haven't cut the cord yet, but I definitely stream. It's an interesting dynamic here. But I know the majority of my team does not have cable. So
yeah.
How about you? Do you have cable?
No, I've been a loyal DirecTV customer for years. But I have a lot of the streaming services too, because Mandalorian fan, had to have Hamilton when it came out, so we got Disney Plus. Yeah.
Oh yes, love Disney Plus.
Try not to promo anyone over the others, but they all have pros and cons. How does the creation and format of the video ads how does that vary by platform, or is that something people need to keep in mind?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it does. And I think that's a great question. So trying to keep it within, 15 to 30 seconds on more pre-roll or connected TV, some YouTube, but then I think more on those social channels is keeping it a little bit shorter and sweeter. It tends to perform. So anywhere from 6 to 10 seconds, I think on social channels tends to perform a little bit better.
Curious, do you ever work with any of the other platforms? And I'm asking this question because when I was on a brand years ago, pretty big brand that did a lot of advertising, and the pre-roll ads always feel like, oh, they're interrupting, I got to sit and watch this. But what we found was people feel like you're sponsoring their show. So there's a good brand lift there. Do you ever work with any of the platforms to provide some of that for your clients?
Like a brand lift survey, or is that what you mean?
Just any kind of brand lift study, as opposed to, the vanity metrics of did they click through, see the ad, whatever, the ad recall, et cetera. Do you ever do anything that shows actual brand value because you are particularly tied to a certain show?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say the way that we've done that with programmatic and pre-roll specifically is with view-through metrics. So that's where somebody sees the ad and they don't click. So we know the majority of people, they just don't click on ads unless it's native, then they're more engaged. But they don't click on those display banner ads or pre-roll. Instead, what they do is they'll go to the site later, and we can actually track that. So we can say, hey, they saw the ad, didn't click, but if they did, you made an impression, right? So I would say that would show that brand lift that we can, report on those things.
All right. And so we're waiting for some other questions to come in. I'm just going to keep going. How do you help measure? Second screens become so huge. We know people are doing it, right? How do you then measure the effect of second screen on some of these tactics?
So that's where, and I probably didn't get into it deep enough, but cross-device targeting and tracking is in there. So again, even if we served you an ad on connected TV and you converted on your mobile device, because it's all hooked in through the Wi-Fi and that same IP, if you will, it's able to be trackable. So we're able to see that whole dynamic across multiple devices, what they're doing, which devices they go to, and how long it takes from ad one to actual conversion. So yeah, the second screen is real. It's true. I mean, like I described in the success, one of the case studies, I mean, within 90 minutes, we were retargeting people on their mobile device because of that second screen. It's real. So yeah, it's just being really smart and strategic too about your buying.
Yeah, I remember there was I'm drawing a blank on the name of the show. Somebody could throw it in chat, but it was the one with the zombies. I never watched it. Walking Dead. There it goes. Refresh my own brain there. I thought what they did was pretty clever because they knew, I think that was the show. I remember watching the case study. They saw that there was a lot of real-time discussion going on about the show. And obviously people don't want to get ruined with the spoilers. So recording it was different. So they wanted people to watch it real time in order to see the ads. So they purposely got really active on social in that sort of that second screening moment. Any other examples out there that come to mind that are like pretty cool interactions that maybe brands have done with shows as sort of a
yes, and we can't do this, but I think it's super cool. Hulu was doing this where you would get an ad, I think at the bottom, and it was like, click here to learn more about whatever. And I don't know, it was just, you can engage, like text this number, so you're watching it on TV, and it was like somehow letting you get engaged with them. I thought was super cool. And I think those types of tactics are going to continue to grow within the industry as a whole, because, people do want that one-to-one. And that's the biggest thing too. They're almost expecting that like customized one-to-one approach based on their interests and likes. And so, yeah, I'm sure we're going to hone in more on that as time goes on.
Yeah. The days of thinking from an advertising standpoint that, Thursday prime time, they called it the power hour, et cetera. Yeah. And people are like, they get their snacks and their drink and they sit down and they just watch. Those days are over. So really, as marketers and thinking about all the different channels and interactions is really important. Yeah, hey, this was fantastic. Guys, I'm encouraging you, post some things in chat if you enjoyed the session over on Stage 2 on Slack. Get over there, interact, ask your questions to the Adtaxi team. Lindsay, I'm gonna give you the last 30 seconds or so. How can people get in touch, or what's a smart next step for them to check out Adtaxi?
Absolutely. You can hit us up on Slack. You can private message at me, and some of my team members are kind of been engaging with you guys already. You check out our booth. We're doing free audits. So if you are doing some of the things that we talked about and aren't sure how things are converting, we can help dive in and just walk through it. And trust me, there have been plenty of times where people are like, where I've told people that they're doing really great. So it's not a bait and switch. I mean, it's literally, if there's something we can help you with, then we'll tell you and we'll gladly help you. So so those are ways. And yeah, I mean, just however. And if you want to have a beer, again, I'm in.
Beer. I love it. I love it. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
That's right.
Thanks again.
Awesome. Thanks, Kip.